The rain-slicked streets of Chicago gleamed under the neon glow. But inside me, a storm was raging. I stood frozen outside the glass tower of Hartwell Enterprises, my heart hammering as I clutched the secret that could unravel everything. By day, I was Ethan Carter, the quiet, efficient assistant to the CEO. By night, I was someone else entirely, someone who could never let the truth slip. It started 3 months ago, in the chaos of a late-night deadline. The office was a ghost town, save for the hum of my laptop and the distant clink of a janitor's cart. I'd stayed late to finish a presentation for Mr. Alexander Reed Alex, as I'd secretly started calling him in my head. He was the kind of man who commanded a room without trying, tall, with sharp cheekbones, dark hair that fell just so, and eyes that seemed to see straight through you. At 35, he was a legend in the corporate world, a self-made millionaire who'd turned Hartwell into a powerhouse. And I was just the 25-year-old nobody who made his coffee and organized his life. That night, I'd been careless. My phone buzzed on the desk, lighting up with a notification from an app one swore I'd deleted, a gay dating app, one I used to escape the suffocating weight of my double life. The profile wasn't even mine. Not really. I'd created it under a fake name, a shadowed photo, a place to be free without risking the judgment of a world that wasn't ready for me. But when Alex walked in, unannounced, to grab a forgotten file, his eyes landed on my screen before I could swipe it away. Ethan. His voice was low, curious, not accusing yet. I fumbled, my face burning as I shoved the phone into my pocket. Just personal stuff, I mumbled, praying he'd drop it. He didn't. Instead, he leaned against the desk, arms crossed, his gaze piercing. "You don't have to hide who you are," he said, and I swear my heart stopped. I laughed it off, muttered something about needing to finish the slides, and he left. But the air had shifted. Something unspoken had taken root. The next day, he called me into his office. Not unusual, except it was after hours, the skyline glittering beyond his floor-to-ceiling windows. "Ethan, I need you to be honest with me," he said, his tone softer than I'd ever heard. My stomach twisted. Did he know? Had he seen more than I thought? I braced for the worst. But instead, he slid a folder across his desk. Inside were notes on a new projected campaign to make Hartwell more inclusive, starting with LGBTQ+ initiatives. "I want you to lead this," he said. "You understand this better than anyone." I stared at him, floored. Was this a test? A trap? Or did he see me? Really see me? I took the folder, my hands trembling, and nodded. "Yes, sir." But as I left, his voice followed me, and Ethan. "Call me Alex." From that night, everything changed. Alex started calling me into his office after hours. Not for work, but to talk. About the campaign. Sure. But also about me life. He asked about my family, estranged. After I came out at 18. My dreams, buried under years of playing it safe. Even my favorite coffee shop, a hole in the wall near my apartment. He shared 2 stories of his own struggles. Growing up in a small town where being different wasn't an option. I didn't know what to make of it. Was he just being kind? Or was there something more in the way his eyes lingered? The way his laugh softened when I spoke? Weeks passed, and the late-night meetings became our ritual. We'd sit on the leather couch in his office, the city sprawling below, and talk until the janitors started their rounds. I started noticing things, the way his tie loosened after hours, the faint scent of his cologne, the warmth in his smile when I cracked a rare joke. I was falling. Hard. And it terrified me. He was my boss. He was straighter, so I thought. And I was still hiding. Even from him. One night, it all came crashing down. We were reviewing the campaign's final draft, our shoulders brushing as we leaned over the same laptop. The air was thick with something I couldn't name. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "Ethan, why do you keep so much of yourself locked away?" My throat tightened. I wanted to tell him everything, how I'd spent years pretending to be someone I wasn't. How I'd built walls so high I didn't know how to climb them. But before I could speak, my phone buzzed again. Another notification from that damn app. His eyes flicked to it. And this time, I didn't hide it. "Alex." I started. But the words caught. He reached out, his hand brushing mine, and the world stopped. "You don't have to explain," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I see you." And then, impossibly, he leaned closer, his breath warm against my skin. My heart pounded as our eyes met, and for the first time in years, I felt exposed, not in fear, but in hope. That moment hung between us, fragile and electric, like a spark waiting to ignite. I wanted to lean in, to close the gap, but fear clawed at me. What if I'd misread everything? What if this was just pity? Or worse, a mistake that would cost me my job, my safety, my heart? I pulled back, muttering an excuse about needing to check something, and fled to the safety of my desk. Alex didn't follow, but his gaze burned into my back, heavy with words neither of us dared to say. The next day, I threw myself into work, avoiding his office like it was a minefield. But Alex wasn't so easily deterred. He found me in the break room, pouring my third coffee of the morning, and cornered me with that disarming smile. "You're avoiding me," he said, not accusing, just stating a fact. I stammered, caught off guard, but he didn't push. Instead, he handed me a post-it note with an address and a time, 7 p.m. A rooftop bar downtown. "Meet me there," he said. "Not as your boss, just as Alex." I spent the rest of the day in a daze, replaying every moment we'd shared, every glance, every word. Was this real? Could it be? By 6:30, I was standing outside my apartment, staring at my reflection in a cracked mirror. I'd traded my usual button-up for a fitted jacket, my glasses for contacts, trying to look like someone who belonged in Alex's world. But inside, I was still the kid from Indiana who'd learned to hide who he was to survive. The rooftop bar was all glass and glamour, the kind of place I'd never have stepped into on my own. Alex was already there, leaning against the railing, the city lights framing him like a painting. He wasn't in a suit for once, just a dark sweater, sleeves rolled up, his hair slightly tousled. He looked human, vulnerable. When he saw me, his face lit up, and I felt my walls crumble just a little more. We talked for hours, the conversation flowing as easily as the wine. He told me about his first love, a boy from high school he'd never had the courage to pursue. "I didn't know how to be myself back then," he said, his voice raw. "I still don't. Sometimes." I wanted to ask what he meant, But the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world stole my words. When the bar started to empty, he reached for my hand under the table, his fingers intertwining with mine. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a promise. After that night, our late-night office talks took on a new intensity. We were too careful, maybe never crossing the line in the office. But the air crackled with possibility. I started to believe in us, in the idea that maybe I could have this, a job I loved, a man who saw me, a life where I didn't have to hide. But secrets have a way of catching up. It was a Monday when everything unraveled. I'd left my phone on my desk during a meeting, and when I returned, I found it in the hands of Sarah, the office gossip. She wasn't malicious, just nosy, but the look on her face told me she'd seen too much. "Ethan, I didn't know you were," she trailed off. But the damage was done. By lunch, whispers were spreading, and by the end of the day, I overheard someone in the break room. "Did you hear about Ethan? No wonder he's always in Reed's office." Panic gripped me. I'd worked so hard to keep my personal life separate, to be professional, to be invisible. Now, it was all falling apart. I avoided Alex's calls, skipped our usual meeting, and buried myself in work, hoping the rumors would die down. But they didn't. And then, the email came in an anonymous tip to HR, accusing me of inappropriate behavior with the CEO. My world tilted. That night, Alex called me into his office. I braced for the worst, expecting him to fire me, to distance himself, to protect his reputation. Instead, he closed the door, locked it, and pulled me into his arms. "I don't care what they say," he whispered, his voice fierce. "I care about you." My knees buckled, and for the first time in years, I let myself cry not out of fear, but relief. He held me, his heartbeat steady against mine. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. The fallout was brutal. The rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by half-truths and jealousy. By the end of the week, the board was involved, questioning Alex's leadership and my influence over him. I offered to resign, to disappear and let the storm pass. But Alex wouldn't hear it. "You're not running," he said, his jaw set. "We face this together." He called a company-wide meeting, something he'd never done in my 2 years at Hartwell. The conference room was packed, the air thick with tension. I stood in the back, my hands shaking, as Alex took the podium. He didn't sugarcoat it. "There have been rumors about Ethan and me," he said, his voice steady. "Some of you think it's inappropriate. Some of you think it's a scandal. But the truth is, I care about him. And I'm not ashamed of that." The room went silent. I could feel every eye on me, judging, weighing. But Alex kept going. He talked about the company's values, about inclusion, about being true to who you are. He announced a new Initiativia partnership with local LGBTQ+ organizations, fully funded by Hartwell. "This is personal for me," he said, his eyes finding mine across the room. "Because I've spent too long hiding. Too." The applause started slowly, then grew. Not unanimous, but enough. Not everyone was on board. Some left the room. Others whispered, but it was a start. After the meeting, Alex found me in the hallway, his face a mix of exhaustion and relief. "I meant every word," he said. "I'm done pretending." That night, We didn't go to his office. Instead, he took me to his apartment, a sleek penthouse with a view of Lake Michigan. For the first time, we weren't boss and employee, just Alex and Ethan. We talked until dawn, about our fears, our hopes, the life we wanted to build. When he kissed me, it wasn't rushed or secret, it was real, unguarded, a promise of something new. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Some colleagues distanced themselves, and the board kept a close eye on Alex. But we were a team now, in every sense. I led the inclusivity campaign with a fire I hadn't known I had. And Alex stood by me, not just as my partner, but as my champion. We faced the whispers, the judgment, and came out stronger. Months later, at the launch of the campaign, I stood on a stage in front of hundreds, Alex at my side. I wasn't hiding anymore, not my love, not my truth. I looked out at the crowd, at the faces of people who'd found courage because we had. And I realized something. Love doesn't just change you. It changes the world. As we left the event, hand in hand, Alex leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. "You're not my secret anymore," he said. "You're my everything." And under the Chicago stars, I believed him. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was living.